energy too. So it's great to play in front of a home crowd like we had today.
That's Coach Nate Oates talking about the advantage of playing at home. What? Alabama fans, Alabama crowd, Alabama students creating an advantage, helping the Tide, as he said, down the stretch, needed some noise, needed some turnovers, needed some stops, and Alabama able to get all of those things. Alabama taking on, they weren't really undermanned, but nevertheless, Kansas State, they came in with a lot of energy, Fletch. They came in intent on trying to upset the basketball world in terms of the Bama Nation. But Alabama able to hold on and get a 77-74 victory. What's your biggest takeaway from this game as Alabama moves to a streak of 4 in a row?
Well, it was encouraging. And I know everyone's going to hear that word and they're going to latch onto it and ask, what is he talking about? We played terribly. And that's why it's encouraging. We can play terrible and still win basketball games.
Yeah.
Not a lot of teams can say that around the country. And we pulled out a win that we probably shouldn't have gotten. Got it done down the stretch. Like you said, it was back and forth for a lot of that game. Alabama, though, pulled it out, got the win, and now they can move on, focus on LSU, try to get right and figure out how to remedy what went wrong and how to amplify what they were doing well in that game.
Yeah, to me, if you look at, to me, it was kind of a game of spurts and runs. Kansas State came out and they were ready to play. I don't know what they did different. I don't know if they did anything different in the first half, but they had Alabama on the ropes, that entire first half, and even took the lead in at halftime by 37-36. But when you look at that, was it just the offensive rebounding? And does that show us how important Davis is to this team having success? I mean, he's not a big scorer, but does he make that big of a difference on the defensive end when it comes to rebounding?
I think he does make a big difference, and it didn't help that Galen Smith also did not get the minutes that maybe he should have. And Oates owned that in the press conference. He said, I probably should have played Galen Smith more minutes there. He had an impact while he was on the floor. But really, it comes down to rebounding is an effort game. You got to get in there and get your hands dirty. And for a lot of that game, some of those guys weren't doing it. And John Petty, our leading rebounder as well, was in foul trouble. That hurts you. It's harder to get down in those scraps and grab the ball when you have 3-4 fouls already. So it was a perfect storm going against Alabama there with a big man out, one maybe not getting as many minutes as he should have. Your leading rebounder, who, although he's a guard, is still excellent at grabbing the ball and pushing it up the court. Well, he's got too many fouls to go in there and scrap for it. It was a bad showing on the boards. Obviously, Kansas State had 22 offensive rebounds, but that's something I think that they'll fix in practice. They'll figure out what they need to do, scheme around it, all that kind of stuff that they get paid to do as coaches, to be quite honest. And I think they'll be ready for LSU.
Yeah, when you look at that, 22 offensive rebounds, down one man, you already have a limited rotation to begin with, and then we literally played 6 players for the majority of that game. And if you really start adding up the minutes, there for a stretch we played 5 because, you were down. Galen wasn't playing, Davis wasn't playing, and Petty was in foul trouble. And literally, if you gave that scenario and the fact that they had 22 offensive rebounds and we were turning the ball over, especially in that first half, you would say that Alabama is going to get beat by, double-digit points probably. Because that was not a bad Kansas State team. It wasn't a great Kansas State team, but it wasn't, you roll the ball out there and you're going to beat them like we did against Vanderbilt, where we had 25 turnovers and played really, bad. So the question becomes this. Is this really too average games in a row, but we've still managed to win. Is that good or bad for the Tide heading down to Baton Rouge? Is kind of the question is, because when you're winning, but you're making mistakes, it can be a really, really good thing if the players listen to the coaches and the coaches coach them up. But it can be a really bad thing if you get the big head and go, oh man, we won 4 in a row. Because if we play the way we played the last 2 games, we will not beat LSU.
And I agree with that. And I think Oates has them all bought in enough that he can go into that locker room and tell them, the things that they did wrong and the things that they did well in that game, and that they're going to listen and they're going to come into practice the next day and work on those things and try to get better. We've seen these guys bought in from day one, and it's only gotten more ingrained in them as the season has gone on, especially in this recent string of success, that this is the way to win basketball games. And so I think that they'll get it figured out and that they'll build off of this.
The thing I love is we've probably won 3 games in a row 3 different ways. Yeah, I mean, you've had something a little different challenge in each of the last 3 games, but you've still managed to get the victories, and that to me, that's a sign of a good coach, and as you said, a team that's bought in. We'll talk more about what they did well, because they did some things good down the stretch. They did some things good in spurts of that game, and they'll have to do those things consistently to beat LSU. We'll have DC Capstone report on tomorrow. I'm sure he'll have some thoughts on Kobe Bryant. You're still welcome to bring your thoughts on Kobe Bryant to the table, and you can do that at 205-342-9904. Stay tuned for the rest of the day. We got great lineups coming all day long. Up next, Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson, and then all day up until 6 o'clock right here on Tide 100.9. For the Martin Houston Show, I'm Martin Houston. That's Fletch. And we do it every day thanks to the great folks like University of Oral and Facial Surgery, who brings us the 2-minute warning. Go check them out at ufsdocs.com or call them at 205-553-556-2323 for that free consult. Roll Tide.